right, hello. Welcome to the very first Twitch event that I am hosting. This one's going to be on Azure SQL Database and SQL Monitor, as you can see. This is purely an experiment, so God knows what's going to happen. We don't know. So please bear with me if things go horribly wrong. From what I can see, we're online. Everything looks pretty good. Let me just do a double check here just to validate that I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing. Yes, I am. Cool. That's good. Please, if you have questions, comments, put them in. I don't know that I'm going to be able to see them easily. This is my first time using this stuff, so this is completely an experiment. I want to try to share some knowledge with you, get some information out, show you off some stuff, but also learn this technology myself. So this is serves a dual purpose. I'm trying this out, and we're going to see what you guys can get from it. So that's it for the moment. So please, if you have questions, ask those questions, and we'll keep going. So what you see in front of you is SQL Monitor from Redgate Software. And what I am monitoring, if you'll notice here, is 4 different types of Azure SQL Database. And things have already messed up. There it goes. All right, 4 different types of Azure SQL Database. What I've got is a standalone. This is a database and a server. It's minimal. It's DTU only, and that's it. I've got a shared thing with two databases on a single server, and then I've got a pool. I've got 3 databases inside of a pool. Now you'll notice that SQL Monitor marks these so that each one is marked as cloud. You see the little cloud icon, but then this is a database in the cloud, and this is a pool. So you can see each of the different types of things. Now the basic setup, let me just switch over to Azure for a second. So what I've got is the pools are set up here, and it's a pretty standard set of pools, no big deal. And let's go into it. You can see that it's going to show you some indications of load over the last 7 days, and you can actually even keep 30 days of information, but only 30 days of information. If you need more, you're going to have to go in and get it yourself, and also you're very limited in what information you are actually able to capture here. But you can see that I've got the pooling stuff going on and various ones. Now I've got my servers set up, and remember, servers in Azure are kind of a misnomer. It's not really a server as such. It's something else. But those are up, those are running, and then you can see the various servers I've got, monitored pool, shared server, standalone pool. And then we can take a look at the databases themselves. And so we've got each of the different little databases here, and they're all running. Now, in addition to this, what I've also got is I've got a whole series of Powershell scripts running, and they're really simplistic. It's nothing massive. Let me just zoom in a little bit. It's nothing massive. It's just connect up to the server, run this query to get a list of sales order header IDs, and then run this store procedure over and over again at varying intervals. I've got it doing random intervals, so it slows down, speeds up, gives you a various, a simulated load. It's not a real great load, and it's certainly not a stress test or anything like that. But it's, there are queries running, and so we can see things that are happening on the server. That's all that is. So, let's zoom back out. Let's switch back over to SQL Monitor. And remember, if there's any questions, just put them into the chat window right there. Be glad to answer any questions as we go. Don't feel like you have to wait for me. We can do this. Remember, this is an experiment, so if I get things wrong, if things aren't quite working right, please bear with me, but feedback would be appreciated. Anyway, let's keep going. So this is the overview window, and it shows us what's going on with the servers. Now, if we were looking at a regular, inside of a VM or a regular instance of SQL Server, it would look exactly the same. But the details are things like this. The fact that we've got DTU captured. So the database transaction units, which is a measure of performance inside of Azure SQL database only, we're able to capture those here. And so if we drill down onto, from the overview into the detail, we can see that we've got the load going over time over the last 24 hours. You can see it. We can see the DTU, the log IO, the data IO. Now, these aren't exactly the same measures as you're used to if you were doing this stuff within a VM or an on-premise instance on a actual machine, but you get the idea. The DTU and CPU over time, and you can look and get details, exactly what were these measures, all that fun stuff. But it gets better. In addition to monitoring just the general behavior of the database, we're also capturing the query metrics. And so, here's my query that I'm running. You guys already saw it on that Powershell script. And here's the query. Here's the durations over time. We can get all of the different ones. We can see which ones had, if there were plan changes, executions per minute, like it ran longer here than it did over here. But you get to see all of the different details on the screen. Even we can take a look at the execution plan. And so there's the execution plan for that query. So you can see exactly what's going on within the query if you want to check it out. So we've got all that stuff all laid out in one place. And it's just the same as if you were running it inside of a regular SQL Server. I mean, the one thing I would say the most about Azure SQL Database is that it is it is SQL Server. It's just different. So any of the stuff that you're used to seeing inside of SQL Server, you're going to see in Azure SQL Database. It's not really, all that different. But there's a few differences, such as the DTU. We can also see weights. Now, these are sysdm DB weight stats instead of sysdm OS weight stats. Why? Because Azure has supplied weights for a database as opposed to weights for, a server, because, you're not really, technically you are, but you're not really running on a server here. But we can see each of these different weights that are occurring inside the system, how long they've been waiting, all the different wait tasks, and these can be sorted and whatnot. And so Monitor acts roughly the same way inside of an Azure SQL database as it does inside, of a normal on-premises database. And we still get latches and locks, buffer cache, page hit ratio, all that fun stuff, log flushes, database size. Everything that you would expect to see is there. Now, the fun bit is also alerting is there. Now, I'm not going to demo an alert right now because I haven't got the script set up to do that. This was an impromptu presentation. The next one, maybe we'll get more detail. But anyway, you get alerting. Now, I want to go to the configuration specifically to talk about alerts, because the alert settings, we supply a lot of alerts for you out of the box. Come on, open up. There we go. Now, you've got the traditional host machine alerts, you've got Azure SQL Database, and Elastic Pool alerts. That's what I wanted to get to. Cool. So, because these metrics come from different places in Azure than the traditional stuff that you're used to seeing inside of SQL Server, we've set up separate alerts for them as well as separate metrics. So you can control these, and especially something like DTU utilization or worker thread limits, which are things that could lead to throttling inside of Azure. You want to see what's going on with those. Also, since DTU is potentially you're billed one of two ways inside of Azure. You're either billed based on vCore or you're based on DTU. You want to make sure that you're capturing DTU so you can watch the things that are occurring over time. And then we've got the basic things set up so you can get alerts on each one of these things. So it's nothing different than what you would normally see. It's the same but different, really. By the way, any questions, just type them into the chat window there. I'll be glad to take them. I know we got a few people watching, so we'll keep going. Now, the analysis stuff, this is also where we can see specifically what's going on here. Let's scroll down and I will zoom in shortly. There we go. Now again, because the metrics are different in Azure, what we've done is we've captured, that you capture them in a different way and using different DMVs and other methods. And so we've got those captured out here and separated. So you can see, DTU percent if we want to, put that up on the screen. Now that's for the monitored pool, and you can do for all of the databases in the pool or for individual databases in the pool. You can do the shared. This is a single server with multiple databases, or my standalone database, which is the smallest database, so it shows the most load. So I keep using it for the demos because it's going to show off more stuff. Anyway, you can see those set up. Now, we also, again, just like everything else that we do, we offer a lot of guidance. Monitoring, if you really, really know what you're doing, if you're really on top of it all, the guidance might not be that useful. But if you're an accidental DBA, an incidental DBA, a reluctant DBA, or someone's got a gun to your head and you've got to do this stuff now, you're going to want this guidance. What is a DTU? What do you do if you have too many DTUs? What is this? Where did you get this information? So we got it from SysDB resource stats. What is a DTU, and how do you define elastic DTUs? All of this stuff is all laid out so you can see the details, not only of the metrics that you're gathering, but get guidance on how that stuff works. Yeah, sunlight's really coming in bad, isn't it? And then finally, you can see that, I've hit a max of 9% on my DTUs, and then generally it's running around 2.3 to 4.1. Cool, that's neat. Hadn't actually looked at that recently. Now, we can take a look at any one of these metrics and you can see what's going on with them. But what I'm going to do is scroll down. Where did I go? Where did I go? Hang on one second. I think I missed something. It's availability groups. Aha, there it is. Zoom back in. Because pooling is a different way of managing your databases inside of Azure SQL Database, we've also set up elastic pool metrics. So same idea, same methodologies, you can see what's going on with those. Now, just like we do with our normal stuff, if we just take a look, we'll go ahead and keep using DTUs. And if we use this, show off this DTU percentage, we can compare this baseline. So now, right now it's doing 1 hour of information compared to 1 hour earlier of information. And you can see the pale blue line showing what happened an hour ago. And we can extend that back by up to 10 hours if you're doing 1 hour at a time. But let's change it. Let's do 24 hours. So this is 24 hours of information and then scaled back 7 days. So this shows the last 7 days worth of information. And you can see that, yes, in fact, I was doing other experiments as we went along. And, excuse me. I wonder if there's a cough button I can hit someplace. I'll have to look for that. I apologize. So you can see that, in the last few days, I actually had more of a load on the database than I have had previously. But this does have multiple days worth of data all stored in here and available for you to pull up on the fly. And so now we can see that, we can put regions on it and see that, wow, right now my last 24 hours is on average lower than what previous loads have been. So if someone's calling to me, tell me, oh, today things were running slow, I'm going to go in there and go, really? Are you sure? Because it looks like yesterday or the day before was a lot worse than it is today. But, it's a great way to go through it. Now, we also have reporting built into Azure SQL Database. And so you can go in there and take a look at reports and gather the stuff. And you'll notice, instances with the lowest uptime, well, gosh, Azure's been online, so no big deal. But if Azure was offline, you would actually know it from our metrics here. Fastest filling disks, which is the default report, no disks, at least none that you can see. Therefore, there's nothing stored here. You would have to add other metrics. Longest running query, funny enough, the longest running query is actually a monitor query. Yes, we don't hide our own stuff. If we're showing up badly, we show it. But the other queries are not running that slow, so it's fine. But we can add other tiles, and those tiles can come from ta-da, the metrics that you're used to seeing. So if you've got particular Azure SQL database metrics that you would like to get on a report, such as, DTU percentage, let's do it for all, or standard perf, or any of these others, you can set them all up and have them all available online. And so you can see actually where I'd turned off my Friday night. I set all this up on Thursday and was doing experiments, and then Friday night the virtual machine, which is running all this stuff, got turned off. And so Saturday morning when I got up to check on it, nothing was working, and so I had to reset it all. But we can have these reports available on the screen, and you guys can do it any way you want to with the reporting. Same way as regular SQL Server. Finally, we've also got this estate management stuff that we're working on, and I'm really excited about this. The estate management things are just amazing. But to be completely clear and honest right now, disk usage, well, there's no disks. Backups are handled by Microsoft, so there's no backups. SQL agent jobs, well, SQL agent doesn't exist in Azure, so that, that stuff's not there. Installed versions, well, there's, one, it's Azure. So this bit of estate management is not applicable to Azure SQL Database, unfortunately. That's going to change over time as Azure changes, as we start talking about, going into managed instances and all kinds of other stuff. We start making the changes in the way these things behave, you will see changes in these screens. So right now, it's not that exciting, but overall, it's getting there. Now, no one has typed anything that I can see into the chat window. Let me check my other, I've got a second screen that I can take a look at that might show things too. No, I don't see anything. Hang on one second. Whoa, that was weird. What happened? Again, remember, this is an experiment. Okay, yeah, no chat messages that I can see. If anybody wants to type one just so I can see what it looks like, I'd appreciate it, but don't feel any pressure. That's it. That's all I wanted to kind of go over today, was just the core functionality of SQL Monitor within Azure SQL Database to show that it is exactly the same as you would expect it to be. No real differences at all, but it also has differences because of the way that SQL Monitor is set up. And so we are able to keep track of DTUs. We are able to keep track of other things. Code Monkey EN, test. Thank you. Well done. Thanks. Cool. Awesome, it worked. Yay, we win. All right. So if there's nothing else, if nobody has any questions or anything, if anybody wants me to show anything on here, I'd be happy to. Otherwise, I'm going to call this experiment done, shut it down, and figure out what I'm going to do next with this technology. So far, I'm interested in it. Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Looking forward to the next batch of gin too, by the way. Anyway, I found the experiment interesting so far. It does look like this is a viable medium for sharing screens. The chat window is definitely working. It's very easy to set up. We'll see these videos will get posted to YouTube, so that there will be more information. Oh, great! The gin is ready. I'll be over there in a few weeks. So, kidding. Not kidding. I will be over there in a few weeks, but I'll be up in Manchester. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you guys very much for taking part in this. Again, this was purely an experiment. If anybody has any suggestions for stuff they want to see in the future, please, feedback is useful. Other than that, I'm going to call this one an end and say thank you. Appreciate your time, and have a good day.